Why isn't my camera working? Okay. We can try again later. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. I was having some hang-ups there trying to get the stream started. It's telling me to try again later. I don't know what that was about. Anyways, welcome back to hopefully what'll be the last episode of painting this sea turtle. We're going to work on the grass, the bubbles in the background, and then go over it with maybe some pen and ink work. And then we'll probably call this project done. So if you haven't checked out the last 3 episodes, they are on my YouTube channel. And you can also download the reference photo and the line drawing through my website, which is jhillfineart.com/tutorials. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've got my paint kind of already set out on my palette. So I have not cleaned my palette off for the last 4 episodes. And so I just put in ash green, turquoise, and ash blue, and some white down for starters, just because those are primarily going to be the colors I'm going to be using tonight. So I do have my water bottle handy, so I'm going to keep my paint from drying out so fast. So let's go ahead and just work on the seagrass here. I don't have a reference photo for that. I'm really kind of just winging it. So I'm just imagining where the light source is coming from, which is coming from the top right according to our reference photo. Maybe not even the top right, just the top down, because it looks like it's daylight in the middle of the day. So what we want to do is also maybe add some additional shadows onto the seagrass or onto his shell, so it looks like they're a little bit together, so it looks like a little bit more realistic. So okay, let's go ahead and start with the tops of the grass. So I'm going to go in with my turquoise, and I'm actually going to pick up a little bit of yellow ochre. There's just some dried yellow ochre here on the palette that I'll just put down with some water. I'll add in some white. So this is going to make more of a warmer yellow green color, which is what we want. So we want something that's going to be lighter in value than what we have on there right now, and something that is a little bit more yellow, just so it's telling us that there is some sunlight hitting it. And I'm just kind of going in between like some dry brushing and just general paint strokes here. I still haven't figured out what I'm doing for the background. I thought about maybe doing it a little bit more maybe an artistic style, maybe doing like some circles, like different colored blue circles, make it more illustrative, or just do the whole background in various shades of blue. I still haven't really thought about it, but I guess over the next few minutes I need to figure that out. Well, I hope your day is going pretty good. My day is, I don't even know where my day went. It felt like it was busy. I feel like I got a lot done. I did a lot of cleaning today. I started off by going to the gym at 5 o'clock this morning. That's always kind of painful, but I enjoy getting up that early to go do that, because I can just kind of feel like I'm pumped and ready for the day. Gives me some extra energy. and then I can just get a jump start on work, or I can maybe take a few minutes to just sit and relax or something if I just want to have an easy morning. I like waking up early for things like that just because it gives me extra time to do whatever I want, really, and not feel obligated to really, do something productive, I guess. But today I was productive. I cleaned the house because I had the exterminator coming today. So that I had to do. Just mixing some more white with the aqua. I think I'm going to bring in a little bit of this azo yellow because that goldenrod, there I go again, the yellow ochre just isn't quite giving me that high chroma that I'm looking for. But anyways, yeah, it was a pretty good day. It was nice outside. I got the lawn mowed, got the house cleaned. And I actually took a nap this afternoon, which I don't usually do, so I guess I was extra tired from waking up so early. I still want this lighter and brighter. I'm gonna go into some more of that yellow. We'll go for kind of like a lime green, just about. There we go. Just needed some punch, just wasn't getting it. Yeah, it's finally starting to get cold here, though. It's I live in South Georgia, and I guess it's not really cold per se, but early mornings it's like 50, 60 degrees, and it's cold for us because we're used to that real hot, humid weather all summer, and now we're getting like half that. And boy, is it chilly in the mornings, although this afternoon was quite nice. Starting to actually feel like fall now, which is great. All right, I'm going to add some more white to that lime green just to get some nice high key values. And I'm going to just dry brush those on just to give it some texture. I'm kind of putting it in the spots where it would most pick up the sunlight. Oh, I kind of forgot about this little piece right here. He needs some highlights. He also needs some greens. Let's see. Just anywhere there seems to be some sun kiss going on, you know, just areas that are facing that light source is going to get some of this bright yellow, or yellow-green, I should say. I'm just trying to smooth some of this out. I went a little too heavy-handed with my application. I'm going with a little white. I think I need a little bit more white over here. I really want it to feel like it's bright. And get a nice strong contrast. Okay, let's see. I think I want to add maybe some of this ash green in some of these areas, just to kind of give a little bit of contrast and some more texture. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see what that looks like. This ash green is it's pretty dark actually, and it just makes for a really nice, a nice subtle neutral shade green. I really like this one. This one's from Holbein. I guess it's kind of a convenience color because you could probably mix it, but I kind of find that having convenience colors for gouache painting is, for me, a good option, because if I'm trying to mix colors to get something specific, by the time I get there, you know, it's pretty much dry at that point. So I like to just cut to the chase. Put a little bit of a shadow under here. There's something going on with this little corner here. Just needs to be cleaned up. There we go. If you find little areas that you've overlapped or gone out of the lines, just take a damp brush and just blend that back in place. And if it gets too grainy, just take a damp brush and soften areas that you think need to be a little bit softer. Not everything has to be dry brushed and have some sort of texture. Getting a nice balance between the two is, I think, the goal. Get some more of these bright limes to just kind of pop out a little bit. I lost connection again. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm gonna have to call my internet provider. We just switched to the fiber internet, and it's supposed to be like seamless, and it's kind of not. Like, it's fast, like that is an accurate description for, you know, people that have gotten the fiber internet. This is we have Live Oak fiber, and we're getting some funky things going on as of lately. All right, let's go ahead and zoom back out again, and we will tackle the dark colors in the shadows. So I'm going with a cooler color. So I'm still going to use a little bit of the turquoise, but I'm going to use more blue as well. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my indigo and put that on my palette as well. So I'm going to take a little bit of my indigo, a little bit of my white to get a nice lighter blue. I guess we'll call it a mid-tone blue. It's about this color here. And I'm just going to start, I'm going to actually mix in a little bit of the teal with that so I can still kind of harmonize with the teal green that I've been using. And let's just start dry brushing some of this color in. I'm going to switch brushes. I don't like this one. I'm going to switch to a filbert brush. I feel like I can get a little bit more control with that one. So I need a little bit of a darker value as well. Same color, just a darker value, so less white. Just so I can start getting some overlapping. I might even add a pinch of the neutral gray into it. I'm not going to get too crazy with the detail on some of these lower pieces of grass because they're not as important. You know, the focal point's right here, so I'm okay if these are not fully rendered. We'll just suggest the texture as like we've been kind of doing. Still want to get an accurate depiction of some values though. Just so everything kind of looks like it belongs. think I'm getting just a little bit too dark. So we'll just lighten some of that up a little. So we'll go into a little bit more teal, a little bit of white, pinch of the indigo, spritz of water. Oop, and I just spritzed my picture. That's okay. Just let it dry. And just pop in some little, I guess you'd call them reflected highlights. Sort of the highlights of the shadow world here. And we can start working these shadows in the other areas also. All right, let's get some darker colors, a little bit more indigo. Really want to kind of get a nice little shadow right in front of this turtle on this piece of grass here. There, now it kind of looks like it is sort of underneath him and in shadow. All right, I want a little bit more of some mid-tones, just to kind of pull back over some of these areas that look maybe a little too dark, that just need some contrast. A little more green. And put this one right along the edge here, just so it looks like there's just a hint of some stronger light hitting that edge. I'm going to pull a little bit of green down here, just some brighter greens down at the bottom here, because I want it to feel like there's a little bit of some sunlight kind of peeking around from the other side of him. So touch of white, touch of that lime green, maybe a smudge with the finger. I'll put some on this side too, so it looks like there's a little bit of some brighter lights kind of coming around. Kind of like it's backlit a little bit. All right, let's go and figure out these other areas here. I'm gonna go into that indigo. I've got way too much water that I sprayed on here. It's so hard to keep this palette workable with the fan on. I have to keep the fan on in here because my computer, it just heats up this room so badly. Ooh, that's really dark. That's too dark. So realistically, I should have put down like a damp paper towel underneath the gouache paint to sit on, or underneath a palette paper for the gouache to sit on. That would have kept it hydrated a little bit longer, but honestly, I'm kind of a little bit lazy and I don't know how much of a difference it would have actually made with the temperature of my room. I'm just going in with just straight turquoise and adding this right on top of the indigo just to kind of lighten that up. So it's just a little too dark. And we'll add a little bit of some ash green and ash blue to this turquoise just here so I can get a little bit of a cast shadow. I'll just kind of scumble that in. Into a little bit of, ooh, that was, don't need beige. That's not the right color. Let's see if we can just work that in though. I do want something a little bit lighter there, but kind of grayish, just to make it look like it's scooping in a little bit. Let's go back to my blue. All right, I might have to wait till that part dries a little bit and go over it with some green again. Sometimes those little boo-boos happen. There we go. I'm just trying to find areas where the shadows are, where I can just kind of have a nice, soft, recessed area. I still want contrast. I don't want a lot of contrast with some of these pieces of seaweed above the turtle because they are sort of exposed to a lot of reflecting and bouncing light. And in fact, these probably aren't maybe even as dark as I'm painting them in real life, but I can get the point across here. And we'll just kind of blend areas that need just a little extra blending. Let's see. Thinking right up here maybe needs a little something. I'm kind of bouncing all over the place. Maybe it needs, I don't know, like some little things, like little spots or little lines or something. I don't know. It's maybe little lines of texture. Just to give it a little bit of interest. Okay, all right, let's move on to the bubbles. Now the bubbles are a little bit challenging. So if you ever have studied bubbles underwater, the values is like the dark values are on the bottom side of the bubble and the light values are on the top side, but then there's also like a ring of dark on the top side too. I've mentioned this YouTuber before. His name is, oh, I can't think of what it is. The art researcher or drawing researcher, but there's a name before it, like Mink, M-I-N-K. I think he's like, I don't know, he's a different nationality, so he's got a bit of an accent. But anyways, he has a fantastic video about how light refracts in different types of materials like water or air bubbles or soap, you know, things like that. And it's all like more scientifically accurate, but how it relates to drawing. And it's very handy. I really enjoyed watching that. So that's helped me, you know, kind of just to be able to understand lighting and things like that a lot better by, you know, watching videos like that. So it's always important to keep studying, you know, be a forever student. You know, I've been drawing and coloring for my entire life, and I'm always trying to teach myself something new. All right, continuing on with the bubbles. Let's pull this back down. So our bubbles color choices, we're going to use the color of we're going to pull colors from the reference photo. So we're going to still use the teal green, teal blue. I think I actually have a teal blue, cobalt turquoise. Yeah, cobalt turquoise, turquoise green is what we will use. And then maybe some ash green and ash blue as our sort of desaturated versions. Put a little bit of this on my palette. And again, this one is a Holbein color. Okie dokie. I'm going to use a round brush. I'm actually going to wet the inside of this bubble real quick because I kind of want to get just a loose wash in first. And again, I don't have a reference photo, so I do have some reference photos of water bubbles. So if you just Google like bubbles underwater, you can find a slew of, you know, different references. Going to find one that I think will be close enough here. So let's see, we got our dark color on the bottom. So let's use a little bit of some ash green, ash blue together. And bubbles aren't completely spherical. And they even have a little bit of form to them, so they're kind of like little blobbies. I'm just going to add some water just to kind of soften that. A little bit of some blue, that cobalt turquoise. I'm kind of just painting around those little shapes. I don't want any dry brushing, I don't think. Water is supposed to be smooth. I might just stick with more of the cobalt turquoise. Now, even though this is a water bubble, it's still going to reflect parts of our sea turtle also. So here I'm going to add some white just to kind of get some of that, I guess we'll call it like some empty water space. But I'm going to add in around the shell area, it's going to reflect a little bit of the colors from his shell as well. So I'm going to go into some burnt sienna and just put just a splash or two, just do like a dot, because it'll kind of act like it's going to reflect. And I'm using indigo for some just heavy dark. All right, so there's one. Kind of looks like a little spaceship, a little UFO. All right, dark bottom. Gonna soften those little tiny spots out. Go into a little bit of the cobalt turquoise and the turquoise green together, and just make a few little splotches here. If it helps for me to zoom in for you. They're just miniature abstract, non-objective paintings. Just little blobs. Once you can kind of get the idea of how the values behave within them, it's not that hard. I mean, it's still challenging, but it's not too bad. I drew, here's my study that I did when I was watching videos on doing reflective just objects. So, you know, the top two would be on like a chrome shape, and like maybe this one would have been like a pearl, this one's like a water drop, and then this one's another water drop. So two different angles, a water drop from the side and then a water drop from the top down, but this is how light would refract. And then this one was my underwater study. So it's a fun little project. You should definitely try doing something like that. All right, time for a sip of tea. I better paint faster here. I'll try and get this done tonight. For these little tiny ones, like here, I'll put a little bit of a touch of the burnt sienna, just so there's some brown in there. But for those little guys back there, you know, maybe just a little touch of blue. Doesn't really need to be anything special. All right, we've got our dark bottom. Need a little bit more water. Get that paint to loosen up. I'll just introduce some other colors. We'll go into a little bit of that turquoise, just adding little bits here and there. Just to give it some color, we'll add a little bit of the burnt sienna. Maybe just on those front two there that are closest to the turtle shell. And we'll just take a damp brush and just kind of smooth these little sections out. And kind of lightly blend them together. I don't want them fully blended, but just kind of partially blended. And then maybe add a touch more white. I think I want a little bit more blue. Take a little bit of the cobalt turquoise and the indigo. No, I think it's too small of a little section to really be that picky. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just put some little dark bottoms on all of these. Had to paint, or had to draw out a million little water bubbles, didn't I? I can't say that word. Okay, oh, one left, there we go. Can't forget about that guy. All right, let's go back into our cobalt turquoise and we'll just add in some little areas of value. Just little blobs. Just gonna make it a little random. Add a little bit more of this green tint over here. And let's see. Let's pull in a little bit of some grayish white. Some off-white to kind of give some other little values in there. Okay, I'm gonna pull in some of the lime green that we had on the ones that are facing this little piece of seaweed over here. Maybe even in this one too, just because it's gonna reflect, you know, some of those colors. Just pull in some of that. Now over here, I think we can add in maybe some of that burnt sienna, you know, just because it's kind of reflecting little bits of parts of his head, picking up some of those colors. Now I'll just take a damp brush and just kind of just smudge some things around. Maybe add in a few highlights here and there. Okay. All right, now I gotta figure out what to do with the background. Oh boy. So if I use watercolor, that I'm worried that it's gonna sort of bleed together. I don't want to go over and ruin things. Let's see, what colors do I have in watercolor? I've got phthalo green, Prussian blue, and ultramarine. So the reference photo, I gotta think about this for a minute. So reference photo is, oh, why is my feed so far back? Huh. So there's like a pale aqua color right sort of underneath his jaw, and then it kind of goes a little bit darker, and then there's like some ripples above, and then it kind of goes to, you know, more of that rocky terrain. I don't think we're going to do the rocky terrain. That's quite a bit. But maybe we could do a little bit of sort of that wavy look. I'm going to start off by doing a very, very light teal. Let me see what I can do. I don't have a clean surface. Let's see. Let me wipe a section off of my palette, or I'll just get a piece of palette paper. Sure, I've got one in here somewhere. Oh, I do have some glassine. That'll work just fine. That'll be just fine. Okay, so I'm going to try and mix a little bit of I'm going to see what the ultramarine and the phthalo green get me. Okay, phthalo green and ultramarine. And let's get, we're gonna need a little bit of a different brush. Something bigger. Let's see. Let's go with this guy. Okay, going into the ultramarine, or phthalo green, now ultramarine, and a lot of water to tint. A little more green. All right, let's test this. I think I want more water, more dilution. All right, let's try it. Let's try it. All right. Here is the moment of my bravery test. This will be my this will be equal to Bob Ross doing his tree right down the middle. So because I'm gonna go this way, I'm gonna turn my board here. I'll zoom out so you can see what my plan is. So I'm gonna wet my paper first. I'm gonna be really careful just to get up to the turtle. To my understanding, it's only going to affect, it's only going to bleed on areas that are wet. Eileen, if you're watching this, am I correct in this? You're the watercolorist, not me. I'm just gonna do from here down. Now this is watercolor paper, so hopefully this stays wet for a decent amount of time. We'll see. I'm gonna grab a larger brush. I'm just really gonna try and saturate this. Oh, something was on my brush. I feel like I can't even speak because I'm just like so focused on what I'm doing so I don't go in the lines and ruin my turtle. I'm gonna be really sad. I mean, well, gouache is forgiving. I can just paint over it, you know? Get over it, paint over it. This actually isn't as bad as I was anticipating. I don't even know if I wetted that background. I'm going to try and drag some of that in. We kind of have some disappearing edges. Well, that wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. Although some parts don't seem to be like saturating evenly. Let's pull in a little more blue. A little more blue, a little more green. All right, let's do the top part now. I want more blue. Let's try a little bit of this Prussian blue mixed in. See what that looks like. Looks like water. Okay. I'm gonna wet the paper down first. I wonder if stopping at this point right here was a mistake, because now there's just gonna be a line. All right, I'm going to switch to my other brush so I can get in between all of this. Very, very carefully get in between here without trying to touch those areas where I put gouache down. This is challenging. I should have done this part first, like before I started painting. Should have done the background first. That's why you need to plan ahead when you're working with, just with any artwork. You really need to have a plan with, how are you going to do your background? Are you going to do it first or last? It's much easier to do it first, but sometimes you just have no idea what to do for your background until you kind of have the rest of it already done, or at least I tend to run into that issue, and I like to do my background last, but maybe I just need to sit and think a little bit harder, before I start to just execute a project. All right, I've got everything wetted down. Try and kind of mimic a little bit of that water surface tension. Try and kind of blend it in a little bit with this, maybe. Gosh, I hope I just didn't ruin this. I'm definitely okay if it's a little bit more on the not airbrushed look, but as long as I can get it to look intentional instead of just kind of like I didn't know what I was doing for the background, which is kind of how I'm feeling this looks right now. Ugh, there is such a there's a reason I don't do watercolor. This is very hard to control. It's absolute madness. Like I want it to blend together here. You know, I don't want this streakiness. But it is what it is. It's not bad. It'll work. But I think I've learned definitely to think ahead on the backgrounds if I'm doing a full background like this, especially, you know, an ocean scene. You know, that's definitely definitely something to work through. Plan ahead. This part came out okay, but I had a much larger area to like kind of work with, you know? Oh, now his head's bleeding. No! Dang it. Okay, we'll just carefully bandage him up. Okay. I don't think that looks too bad. Okay. It's not terrible. It's not what I imagined it would be, but it's not terrible. I'm gonna leave it alone because I'm definitely not confident in working it anymore. Okay, so while the background's drying, we can kind of work inside his body here with some pens because I want to do a little bit of line work before we can call this guy done. Oh dear, I just got paint all on the bottom side of my palette there. All right, let's see. Oh, I gotta show this to you. I found this pen holder. It's just a giant pencil sharpener. I found it at Books A Million. It was like in their clearance bin or something. I love it. I think it's so cool. One of those finds that you just come across, you just have to buy it. All right, I am going to choose. I have a choice between brown pens and black pens. I only have two sizes in brown. I've got the .005 and then the 003. I think I want black. I want some contrast. And I want to make them look a little bit more illustrative. So I'm going to start with O2, maybe an O. Trying to decide. I want something a little on the thicker side, but not too large. So we'll just stick with the O2 for now. You know what? No, I like small little lines. Let's find an O. O1, I think we'll do. Okay, so that's still wet, so we're gonna work just on the inside. Of some of these lines. And this also allows me to clean up my my paint lines too. And if it still looks like it's partially outside the lines, that's okay. You know, it looks kind of, you know, it's supposed to look illustrative, you know, like a comic book. I still think this pen size is a little too big. Let's just go with the 005 here. Do 005. And these are micron pens, so they are waterproof. And I'm just going to re-outline everything. I love doing this style of painting with gouache. Just reminds me of like a storybook, you know, type drawing. And if you make a mistake, you just take a brush, a little damp brush, and you reactivate the paint underneath of it, and you just clean it up. And that paint just reactivates and goes right on top of that ink. Very forgiving. And I like to follow along some of the paint strokes that look wonky and just kind of embellish and highlight, you know, some of those brush strokes, those dry brush strokes. Just really kind of emphasize some of that texture. And I don't like what I did up here. So I'm just going to take a little bit of paint and just put that back together. Sorry if I'm being quiet. There's just some days it's really hard to talk and do art at the same time. Especially when you're feeling sleepy. I am feeling a little sleepy. I'm gonna be honest. Okay. Put a few little scratches and little areas where it looks like there's some texture. And you can switch out pen sizes too. You know, you can just kind of do like some small guys, some, you know, I think I'm actually gonna switch to the 003, which is my smallest one. I think that one's broken. Let me see if this one's better. And this one's going to give you like a smaller pen size. I like this one for doing real small work. Although, I don't know why, but the tip of it just wears down so quickly because it's just so fine. You got to be real careful. You could use a brush pen, you could use big fat chunky markers, you know, colored pencil on top of this. You could do that too. That might be a cool idea. Add in some lime green color pencil to the tops of my seaweed. All right, I'm gonna use the same small pen size here to do the bubbles. I'm just outlining them. And I'm kind of giving them a little bit of some little dark spots too, just to kind of really push the contrast in some of the bubbles, just to add in like little spots of black or something. That background should be, it's pretty much dry now, so I'm not worried about the ink spreading. Be very careful and go slow. You don't want to rush this. And I'm not going to outline the ones further in the background because I kind of want them to kind of stay hanging back there. Just put a few little things here and there. There we go. All right, so all that's left is to just kind of do some more work on the turtle here. So let's go take care of these little barnacles. And we'll give it some little spots and dots and scratches, and just living its best life on the back of a sea turtle. The one thing about using the micron pens on top of the gouache is because the gouache has kind of a rough surface when it dries because it's got that matte finish. It's really hard on the nibs of the pen. So I tend to have to replace them a lot. All right, very carefully going to outline our sea turtle. And I'm still using that 003, which is my smallest one that I have. I keep leaning outside of the camera here. I can't sit still. Can't sit still in front of the camera. we'll just outline his eye. Just give him a little bit more definition. We don't want to give him eyeliner, so not trying to go super strong with the pen around his eye. All right, I'm going to switch to the 0.005. Give me something a little larger to work with here. I'm going to outline his little patterns here. Now, areas where it's really light in value, you can just use like a broken line, unless you want it like super cartoony looking. But I try to just use some broken dots and some stipples, because I don't want to lose a lot of the texture, you know, with the paint strokes. But I do want him to look illustrative. Let's give him some nice clean lines. This was a pretty fun project. I've never done a sea turtle before. I'm not really into animal art, so this was definitely a challenge for me. And I think it was a good way to get my feet wet by using the gouache instead of, like, you know, oil paint or color pencil or something like that. I think that would have just drove me nuts with all the texture. So here we can just kind of go right into all these little nooks and crannies of his wrinkles and just kind of scumble in a little bit of dots, lines, dashes, you know, little doodads. I'm actually going to go back to that small 003 and maybe just give some of these spots a little bit of embellishment here. I actually think he looks pretty cool. I'm happy with it. That's a lot better than what I thought it was going to turn out, to be honest. Well, if you followed along and you want to share your work, you could email it to me, jhillfineart@gmail.com, or you can post it on Instagram and just tag me, jhillfineart. I think I've got my own little hashtag, and I'll just try to remember to check it on there. But either send it to me, you know, through a message. That's probably the best way. And if you need help on yours, you know, email me, message me. Let me know how I can help you finish this project if you're stuck. Or if you just need a little extra coaching or just need a second pair of eyes. if it's not looking like you wanted it to look. Most of the time, if you're having an issue where it's not looking like you want it to be, it's usually a value problem. Like the values are off. You know, your darks aren't in the right spot, or your darks aren't dark enough, lights aren't light enough, or it's just looking too flat. You know, maybe there's not enough contrast with the values or the colors. But just, it's usually little simple things like that. And if you hand drew it and there's still some problems, there might be something with your freehand drawing. You know, if your line drawing isn't correct. A bad drawing will lead to a bad painting. You need to know how to paint or how to draw well, and that's going to help you have a better finished looking painting, in my opinion. I think drawing skills are very important. I'm just going around cleaning up, sharpening some of these edges here. I'm going to go to the big one again. Oh, you know what? I didn't paint any extra shadows. I don't know if it actually really needs it, because these ones, you know, the shadow might be, I'm not sure where the shadow would be. If it was coming above here, it might be some shadowing right above his flipper, so maybe I will add that in, because that's going to bother me now that I noticed. Let me get, I just got paint all on the back of my tin. Okay, we will have to fix that in a moment. Okay, so let's get a little bit of just some gray, just real watered down. Like a cool gray, a little bit of blue here. And we'll just kind of lightly push that in. Maybe a little bit more blue. And I think I want a little more shadow on top of this guy. Yep, there we go. That looks a little bit more accurate. I think I want some deeper values. Just down here. All right, where was I with the pen? I was switching to the larger one, and I was still going around some of these areas. Just cleaning those up. Let's put a little few scratches and maybe some cracks or something in his shell. He's kind of seen some days. And put some little dots. Sometimes there's just random little dots in places. Okay, well, I think we can call this guy done. What do you think? I think it looks pretty cool. So we just need to sign it too. Now, where do we want to sign it? Maybe about right here. Let me make sure that I got this on a... I tried to use a piece of paper that is relatively standard frame size. So let's see, this is a 8 3/4 by 10. It's an odd size. Well, we can fit it into an 8 by 10. The image is not 8 by 10. It'll fit into an 8 by 10. I'll have to cut a custom mat, but it'll go in 11 by 14 frame. 8 by 10. So I'll just have to get that mat to cover over just a smidge more, but I think I'll put my signature about right there. And I'm going to use my brown pen because I don't want it super heavy. All right. Ta-da! There we go. He is finished. Let's kind of take one more look and see what else I can work on. But I think we'll call this one done. Let me know if you enjoyed it. I would love to see what you've come up with yourself. If there's, if you followed along, I'd love to see your work. If you have some ideas for another episode or something else that I can paint or cover, let me know, and I'll probably get another live stream going here again in the future. So I don't have another project planned as of yet. I have some family coming into town, so it'll be probably a couple weeks before I get something else going, but I'll try to get something up and going. And I do have another video that is about to come out on the grid method. So if you are a student of drawing or you just want to figure out ways to make drawing a little bit easier, I have that video coming out soon. As soon as I finish it, I'll be posting it on all my social media and YouTube, of course. So watch out for just other art videos that I'll be putting out in the future. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I will catch you later.